Este programa tem o patrocínio North Avenue Bakery, Hotel Praia Sol, Luís Firmino Insurance, MCM Clinic, Top Burger, Go Car Service, Coimbra Restaurant.
Olá, muito boa tarde, bem-vindos a mais um Legal Way. É para nós um grande prazer estar na vossa companhia. As questões migratórias estão cada vez mais na ordem do dia. Cada vez mais é importante saber com que linhas é que cozemos a nossa situação. É importante saber também os direitos que nos assistem. It is with a great pleasure that I welcome to our show once again Dr. George Russo. Doctor, thank you.
Thanks for having me again.
It's always a pleasure. Doctor, there's been so many questions, so many concerns regarding immigration, the status of so many things. What are the meanings of the last communication from Minnesota when they say that, the ICE no longer will be in Minnesota? Can we expect that to be here in Jersey after our governor announced that we need to have our eyes open and making sure that we do our part to notice and report any ICE activity here?
Well, it's kind of a believe it when you see it type situation with Minnesota. They said that they were going to wind down their operation, their surge operation, whatever they called it. Of course, operations will resume as they normally have in Minnesota. But the major surge that's been all over the news, that is expected to end. But again, I'll believe it when I see it.
Regarding New Jersey, so we see, looking at the news, social media, so many actions that have been reported around. A few days ago in Union City, there was a nice activity nearby a church. People at churches and schools, they should be concerned?
Well, anytime you're in public, it seems that even churches aren't going to be like a no-go zone for them. Like it certainly seems that they're pushing the envelope in different ways and going after people where it was once thought that somewhere that you would be safe. So definitely you should be speaking with your church about plans, and I think that they definitely wouldn't go inside of a church, at least not yet, but you never know. I mean, they could be waiting outside there. The street is public property, so if they have intel that someone they're looking for is outside a church, of course.
Eu quero desde já dizer aí para casa se tem qualquer tipo de questões, qualquer informação que procuram saber, podem fazer através das redes sociais ou através dos meus contactos a sua pergunta, que eu farei mesmo ao Dr. George Russo. Temos alguma pergunta já. Doctor, green card holders, a person with two DWI, it is a concern or not? If that person should face any type of retaliation or situation if they try to become American citizens? No?
It's definitely a concern. It depends on when those DWIs occurred. In order to apply for citizenship, you need to demonstrate to the government that you have, over a period of the last 5 years, that you've been a person of what they call good moral character. So having any type of criminal offense, DWI included, is something that USCIS would look negatively on. If those DWIs are outside of the 5-year period, then of course whether or not they whether or not they approve your citizenship application would still be at the discretion of USCIS. But given that history, I wouldn't. You have to be really careful about whether or not to apply at this point. It might just be safer to renew your green card.
just submitting an application could be a red flag for immigration, like in a situation like that. Because it just mentioned to, renew your green card, do not submit, like submitting the N400.
Right.
Can that bring any type of potential retaliations to a person in that situation?
So it depends. When someone submits an immigration application, not that long after that, they'll be scheduled for a biometrics appointment. Basically what that means is a fingerprint and photograph for anyone who submits, and then the federal government will they'll run your information through their systems, okay? And if you submit an application, they'll send you, and you don't mention, for example, if you don't mention one of your crimes on your application, for example, a DWI, they might send you a letter in the mail called a request for evidence that says, by the way, on whatever date in 2022, for example, in this town, our records indicate that you had this criminal activity or DWI or whatever. Can you please provide details of that? So that's kind of how that happens. Not just by the form, but you do have to go through the fingerprints.
Now, it is safe for a person that has an issue like that to travel outside the country, to go to Portugal, for example. The Portuguese person asking that, he has a couple DWIs about 10 years ago, travel last year, summertime, noticed that the immigration officer at the airport look at him, with different kind of eyes.
Right.
But, he has no problem. After a few questions, was able to come in, and he's here right now. It's concerning about going back to Portugal. Should he go, or should he see a lawyer, making sure that he's okay? What a lawyer can do to help him out in this particular case?
Well, a lawyer could advise whether or not a citizenship application is worth filing. If he went and traveled last year, he might be okay, but you got to understand that anytime you are presenting yourself at a port of entry, for example, Newark Airport, at the customs office, like that, your entry is up to the discretion of the officer, okay? So now it's unlikely that they're going to turn him away, but what they can do is they can refer him to the judge, or they can admit him under a different category other than lawful permanent resident, green card holder, and then you'll have to deal with that, right? So he might see a criminal history and say, oh, we're now realizing this, you're gonna have to figure this out with the judge. Okay, it's different when it's someone's got like a tourist visa, because then they can just refuse you, basically.
Correct. I have another question from someone that when he was 16 years old, he had marijuana case here in New Jersey, got a pardon already from the governor, the prior governor issued a pardon, but is married with an American citizen, 2 kids born here, not able up till today to get his paperwork. He came with a visa from Portugal. It's been now almost 20 years. It's 37 years old. That charge when he was 17 turning to 18. And since then, submit the paperwork, but no communication, got a pardon, submit all the paperwork still.
How long ago?
About 9 years ago. So I was with the governor prior to Murphy.
9 years ago, he submitted his green card paperwork, and he hasn't heard.
No, he submitted green card paperwork 16 years ago.
And then what happened? Surely he got a decision.
No decision. So
in 16 years?
Yes.
Through his wife?
Yes.
I find something's wrong.
Something is wrong.
Something's
right?
wrong. I find
can be that related to the.
And they cashed his check. I feel like
they cashed the check. Yes.
There has to be a decision.
Got to be a decision.
Yeah, 16 years on a green card application. That's like.
Is a no.
For me, it's unheard of. I've never heard of that. Someone filing a green card application and not getting a decision in 16 years? I've never heard of that.
Amigo Carlos, portanto, eu recomendo que entre em contato com o Dr. Jorge Russo no 973-344-9120, porque o que ele está a dizer, eu penso que o senhor também compreende perfeitamente, uma situação como estas, uma aplicação como esta, não demora 16, 20 anos a ser resolvida se trocaram o cheque, se houve uma aplicação, se há, it is a pardon that, you get a letter from the,
Right.
Something is not right on that
Right.
process. Eu acredito que a melhor solução neste caso, Doctor, does that make sense? Like he use a lawyer to contact somebody else like you to see exactly where getting a second opinion at least.
Right. Yeah. I mean, a pardon might not necessarily solve his problems. By the way, right? It depends on the nature of the original offense. Because I mean, just because you get a pardon from the governor, I mean, the federal government is still, you still have to disclose it on the application, right? So it's not like you can just pretend it never happened. So.
Fica aqui a informação, portanto, é bom ter uma segunda opinião e, acima de tudo, o perdão que foi concedido poderá não ter um impacto direto nesta situação, depende do caso, depende também como o mesmo foi formulado. Doctor, I have a person from Uruguay that just contacted me saying that he was deported, was admitted in the States, got his green card after being deported during the Obama administration, has a green card, planning to become a green card holder by marriage. He married an American citizen. Since he had the deportation in the past, he's liable to not be able to get American citizenship. So he wants to apply to become American
How did he
citizen.
enter the last time?
Well, he waited outside the country, got married, and then, through a legal process, he was able to come back.
Come back with what? With what?
With a green card.
So he has a green card.
He has a green card right now. He wants to become American citizen.
Sure, no problem.
No problem, because that was granted after the deportation.
Yeah. So whatever issues he might have had were almost certainly resolved when he got his green card. So if he's eligible for citizenship, I would suggest that he apply. Yeah.
He apply. And should do that to make sure that his case is correctly done through a lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the immigration services officer asks him questions about his prior deportation. They're going to want to know about that, and they're going to want to know about how he got his green card the second time. So, yeah.
Jorge Paiva, a informação é muito clara, portanto, a forma como conseguiu o seu cartão verde clarificou legalmente a deportação que teve, mas poderá ter ou serem feitas perguntas durante a entrevista com o agente da imigração, portanto deve estar preparado para isso, mas deverá contactar um advogado e, portanto, submeter os papéis para a sua cidadania, já que foi há mais do que 5 anos e, como tal, tem essa possibilidade. Doctor, what are the most common situations that you are facing right now? There's a lot of questions about people that are lost in the process. For example, people that was able to get a working authorization to be here, or people that come through Mexico. In 2022, I have a case, a lady from Brazil that was able to get into the country, got the work authorization, was able to go to Brazil a year and a half ago to an emergency. He asked for, left the country, come back, was granted to be there for like 4 or 5 days do a family emergency. A case like that can go in how many ways? That person can be deported, gotta go now. When becomes time to renew the working authorization, what are the scenarios that that person can face?
So they cross the border?
They cross the border.
Okay, so most likely they have their employment authorization because they are currently in deportation proceedings. Okay? So people, when you cross the border, unless you enter with the type of parole,
Okay.
and a lot of those parole programs have gone away or been terminated by the current administration, the only way you can get one of those work authorizations is through filing some type of defense to your deportation. If they cross the border, likely they have filed an application for asylum. And then after you've had your application for asylum in for a certain amount of time, 150 days, you can then file a request for the work authorization. So it depends on whether or not you can keep that work authorization, depends on how your court case is going. And then the other common situation is for people that have been here more often for longer periods of time, at least 10 years, and they file an application for what's called cancellation of removal. They're also able to apply for a work card, right? And whether or not they're able to keep it depends on, how strong their case is. It's not like they're just giving these work cards out just for anyone.
So basically, that person, and I think that this is something that is important people to understand, those working authorization holders that cross the border are in deportation process. It's fair to say that?
If they have a work card?
Yes.
Yeah, if they have a legitimate work card, they're in the deportation process.
That person, if they go to a court, if they have a court date, they can be deported immediately there based on the decision from the judge or not?
Only with a deportation order. And the only way that happens is if the government classifies them and says that they are in what's called expedited removal, in which case they get a faster hearing and they're faster in front of the judge and they're faster towards getting a deportation order.
I have someone asking about the TPS and other humanitarian programs. A person under TPS from Haiti, what are the chances of that person to stay in the United States under TPS?
Well, as long as they don't commit any crimes that disqualify them, they're allowed to continue renewing their TPS as long as the designation remains active. It's my understanding that the Trump administration just tried to terminate the designation for Haiti's TPS. I believe it was stopped by a court.
Correct.
Paused temporarily by a court. We'll have to see how that plays out, but so long as the TPS designation remains in effect, then they have that temporary protection.
And again, if I will not be able to speak in French, yes, but 973-344-9120. Dr. George Russo will be able to help you guys out, either in Portuguese, English, or Spanish. Doctor, some towns like Kearney issue an order stating that ICE agents will not be able to operate inside areas like the City Hall and stuff like that. The governor, Mikey Sherrill, has a similar order too. Exactly how that works. Like someone that goes to Kearney City Hall, for example, and we notice, being informed about a lot of activity, ICE activity yesterday at Kearney Avenue. Right. Imagine that person walked to the City Hall. What happened? Can the ICE agents go inside or no?
Well, if the local town is refusing them access to get in there, then no, they can't go inside, not without a warrant.
Okay.
Because they're refusing that access. Of course, they could wait outside in a public area. I doubt that they're looking for that type of confrontation with the local police and state police at this point, but they would probably wait outside.
I have a unique question. I don't know how we can get that. I don't know if you are able to answer that. So it's a person from Portugal that become resident in the United States about 6 years ago.
Okay.
Was few convictions in Portugal. But, when they apply for a green card, was no issue. Is planning to become American citizen. Is criminal record from Portugal will be taken in consideration for that? Since it's a law that, with cross information from both countries?
No, I don't think so.
No.
It should be based on the good moral character period that we talked about is based on the last 5 years, and it's based on his activity here in the U.S., right? So when he got that green card, he had to submit what's called a police certificate from the country where from any country where he's lived for a certain period of time.
Correct.
So he would have had to have gotten a Portuguese police certificate that disclosed those crimes. So they're definitely aware of it, but it's not going to play a role in his citizenship application.
So it's fair to say that, go ahead, submit your paperwork. I always like to reinforce that, the way the immigration laws are, and correct me, doctor, if I'm wrong, but a lot of change, basically day by day. It is important that someone that is applying for a change of status, making sure that does that with a professional that will be able to, that may cost money, and a lot of people say, I will be able to do it by myself. But I think that is important, especially on the days that we live today, that anyone that's seeking that change of status, to make sure they go to an attorney that allow them to see their case and build the case from there. Does that make sense to say? And why are the reasons that should be done? Do you notice any situation in the past where, a person that is facing now, for example, deportation could prevent that if they contact a lawyer? Like, for example, be aware or getting a good advice, do not submit N-400 at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, if they submit, if they submit the application at the wrong time, or if they submit the wrong application, or if they have something happened in between the last time they filed an application, and like we talked about earlier, when you go for biometrics and the fingerprints, all of a sudden, that new information is suddenly on their radar that wasn't on their radar before, then all of a sudden you've put yourself in perhaps a situation you wouldn't otherwise want to be in.
I have another question, or another question for you. This couple has a daughter that was born here in the States, American citizen. She is now 17 years old. When the daughter can claim their parents? Both of them come with a visa, one from Brazil, another one from Portugal, and they overstay their visa, both. Both of them, they've been here for like 20-something years.
All right, 4 more years.
4, so is it 20?
Once she turns 21, yes.
So they need to... question here is that, right, they have minor criminal records, like, for example, tickets, one moving violation, not a DWI that the gentleman has. That shows up on his abstract. He took the CDL license and shows up in this abstract. Is that has any impact on their situation up till when the daughter turns 21 and fill the petition for them?
No, it's not going to have an impact. There's certain crimes that do have an impact, but traffic violations and moving violations and parking tickets or whatever has no impact on a person's green card application.
And they ask me if I get stopped by ICE agents and being deported tomorrow, I will be able to come back when my daughter turns 21. This is probably a lot of the questions that the people ask out there.
Okay, so it depends on which one of them, the Portugal or the Brazil.
Well, this is the father talking. He's Portuguese.
Okay, all right. So if he's Portuguese, he came on what's called a visa waiver. Okay,
correct.
And Portuguese people who enter on visa waiver, if they get caught by ICE, they're not entitled to full removal proceedings, okay? It's a benefit that you get. You don't have to apply for a visa. You can just enter the U.S. But on the other hand, if you do overstay your visa and you do get caught, you're not going to get put in full removal proceedings. The only defense available to you is an application for asylum, which is never going to be approved from Portugal, of course. So, you know, if he was caught, he's out of options for the most part. And if he gets sent back, he will face the 10-year bar. He'll have to stay out for 10 years. And then in order to come back, he would need to wait the 10 years and then file another application for permission to re-enter the United States.
He's asking now if he's out of deporting himself. If he's decided to go now, that the daughter is 17 years old, born here, he decided to go back to Portugal. What are the options that he has when the daughter turns 21? So he says he goes CBP, but I'm going back.
Still has to wait 10 years from the day he leaves, and yeah, he still has to wait the 10 years.
Aqui, portanto, é muito importante termos isto presente, porque muitas pessoas, portanto, quando têm um timeline assim tão ajustado, pensam, se calhar até é melhor para mim ir um par de anos, mas atualmente, como as leis estão, os 10 anos de penalização continuam em presença. That's the main information. Now, this person is out of options. What about his wife? That she came from Brazil and she applied for a visa, 6 months, overstayed the visa. Different rules in that particular case?
Yes. So because she came on a tourist visa and overstayed, she would be entitled to full removal proceedings, entitled to see a judge. She would get, you know, her charging document, a notice to appear in front of the judge, and then she would be able to submit some type of defense to her deportation, right? So she actually gets the opportunity to present more than just an asylum defense and see if maybe there's a defense to her deportation.
E este caso é muito importante para os telespectadores aí em casa. Porquê? Porque explica-nos exatamente as diferenças dos chamados países de alto risco, you know, the high-risk countries, right? That, for example, Portugal, that you are able to come in here without a visa. I think there is ESTA, you can submit the ESTA and coming back, has some downfalls that apply, and you need to be aware. So, once again, extremely important, because each case is a case, but making sure that you do not apply a rule of thumb that, you know, just because someone told me that, making sure that you at home do the right thing. If you're facing a situation like that, why not contacting the 973-344-9120? Because, doctor, and I always like to close like that, right? The only way to stay well informed is making sure that you presenting your case to an attorney that are able to guide them or guide you throughout the multiple options, because, you know, we just see a simple situation that is not simple. You know, a couple with a daughter, 2 different outcomes,
right?
Because they are from Portugal and Brazil.
Yep.
So what is, to conclude, doctor, your advice to everyone at home that is facing such an uncertainty, what they should do? What is the most important situation that they need to make it? Is that true to say that get your phone call, make a phone call, call 973-344-9120, presenting your case, just have a conversation with an attorney? Is that helpful? Do you see that to turn the first step to a bigger solution tomorrow?
It's certainly easier as far as peace of mind goes, right? Because there's so much information out there, and I say information and also misinformation. People speak, they see on Facebook, they see on Instagram, they hear, like, just like that couple, even though they're in the same, they're both overstays, but they're from different countries, different rules apply to them. And I can't tell you how many times I've had someone come in and say, well, my friend did the exact same process in the exact same situation, and her thing was approved so much faster than this. Why is it happening that way? And like, they'll see information on Facebook or whatever and wonder, why isn't this applying to me? Maybe dial down a little bit on some of the social media, like, news out there, and you can just speak to someone who knows what they're talking about, and, you know, you'll get your peace of mind. You'll feel a lot more calm.
And talking about social media is another topic that I have. People need to be careful about where they post, what they do. Is that true that the government is checking social media, the personal social media when they make immigration decisions?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We just saw it received a lot of pushback, that green card holder, I believe she was a green card holder, who published the college op-ed.
Correct.
In, I think it was Tufts University, basically, she was on a student visa, something like that. But
Correct.
Basically, she was on a student visa, she posted an op-ed that criticized the government or whatever, and she got basically abducted right off the street. So yes, they are looking at people's social medias, and they're making an effort for have people disclose their handles and their social media information and they're signing up with these tech companies, and they're looking through. So you definitely have to keep an eye on what you post on social media, okay? So especially if you're not a citizen.
Doctor, thank you very much. It was extremely helpful to clarify all these situations.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Não, it's always a pleasure. E já sabem, para falar com o Dr. Jorge Russo ou com a doutora Cíntia Marques Russo, 973-444-9120. E tenha cuidado, acima de tudo, tenha cuidado. Tenha a certeza que todas as decisões que toma são para estar numa melhor posição amanhã. Porque se as coisas estão difíceis, muitas das vezes as nossas ações permitem ou fazem com que possamos piorar ou melhorar as linhas com que cozemos a nossa realidade. Muito obrigado por estarem aí. Dr. Once again, thank you very much. Foi mais um Legal Way. Tenham uma ótima noite.